Okay, so it is 6 o'clock on July 2nd, 2025. Seeing a quorum present, we'll call the meeting of the Whitestown Fire Board to order. Chief, would you do the roll call, please?
Mike Hancock.
Here.
Jim Baldwin.
Present.
Dan Patterson.
Here.
Michelle O'Connor.
Here.
Eric Nichols. Casey Copeland.
Okay, if everybody will stand for the pledge. We'll move on to the approval of the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the agenda as written.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Agenda is approved. Move on to the approval of the June minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I make the motion to approve the minutes as displayed.
So moved.
I second it.
And we'll have a second. Any other questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. Chief, do we have any public requests to speak?
Do not.
Okay. Seeing no presentations, we'll go on to statistics and updates.
All right, so for the month of June, Public Education and PR, we attended the North Location Taco Bell for their ribbon cutting ceremony. We attended 3 of the summer conference series so far, just missing one due to recruit graduation on the same night. Clark Meadows Touch-a-Truck event, the Library Touch-a-Truck event, and we also attended the Glasswater Creek Veterans Parade that they conducted. Just additional administrative staff attended a roundtable discussion with Indiana Secretary of Public Safety, Jennifer Ruth Green. Northside Fire Academy graduation, as I stated, we graduated 6 of our 7 recruits. The 7th recruit will start EMT school on July 14th and finish that up after a 7-week program, and then we will have 7 complete working on shift after that point. The others started this week. We had our quarterly labor management meeting conducted. Typically, labor management's just been myself and the union. We just started doing kind of a more official quarterly meeting between labor and management staff, so having both our deputy chiefs involved in those meetings as well. And then we did the retirement celebration for retiring Deputy Chief of Operations, David Owens. In inspection and prevention, you'll notice there's a little bit of a change from typical months. I welcome your feedback from this, but this is how our new fire marshal has been going about taking statistics. So you'll see those there. Really, all the annual inspections are themselves like normal, but the other inspections are just kind of combining all the different ones that have been done, and then the alarms and sprinkler systems, whether that be inspections or tests, is combined into one. If you'd like to see anything different, let me know. Doesn't have to be tonight, obviously. Shoot me an email, and we can adjust that as necessary. But this is just how he's kind of been conducting the stats. So
that data will still be available for all the individual breakouts?
Correct.
Just not on this report?
Right, correct.
I don't see any problem with that.
Then moving on to fire training, a total of 2,191 hours for the month logged by the crews. This does include them helping 5 different days with live fire training for the Academy Live Burn Evolutions, but this does not reflect any recruit hours. And just to kind of sum up the Academy, they did complete 20 weeks of it, starting on shift this week with a total of over 3,600 hours training, and with over 120 of those hours being live fire training. Each new member came out of the class graduating certified hazmat awareness, operations, firefighter 1 and 2, technical rescue awareness, vehicle rescue operations, and national incident management systems 1, 2, 700, and 800 as well. The monthly EMS report, and you see we had 175 total hours of training, 70 patient contacts, 67 transports, and the breakdown on there as usual. We did have 27 video minutes and 26 audio minutes of our translation service. So we've just been trying to kind of keep track of that and see how beneficial that is and how much we're having to use that service. And then just a couple points of note at the bottom. IU North Hospital did come to Station 272 and provide us OB training and brought in specific mannequins for OB-related issues. So that was a kind of a nice training and a little bit more than using our resources that we have. EMS chief visited all three long-term care facilities to meet with the directors of nursing and just keeping that line of contact open since they are a frequent place that we visit, just trying to keep things, keep relationships built there. And also, Chief Cunningham went to the Crawfordsville Fire Department to kind of look into what they started with the blood program, carrying whole blood and utilizing that in traumatic situations on incidents in pre-hospital care is becoming more of a thing. So we're just kind of looking into that, trying to stay on the forefront of new things and new protocols that will benefit our customers, if you will. Not really landing one way or another on it because it is kind of a rarity where it would be used. So it's an expensive venture if you don't have a system in place. So we're just kind of looking at a couple different options and keeping that on the front of our minds as we proceed into how we provide our service. We did meet with the Little League like we do annually every year for their upcoming tournaments. And then we're the EMS chief, training chief, and county units across the county, I guess is what I'm trying to say, have been working on a mass casualty incident training, kind of a hands-on training so we can work on collaborating our efforts for a mass casualty incident, plus updating our standard operating procedures with that as well. Kind of hoping, I guess, the overall goal of this would be ultimately to come out with a standard operating procedure for the county, so we're all working on the same sheet of music. Because we're going to need to be working with each other anyways on that. It's just, not that it can't happen right now, but it just hasn't been spelled out in specifics. So that's just one of the things we're working on. EMS billing report, the June month-to-date revenue, $37,509.56, bringing our year-to-date to over $233,000, which is hanging at that 13% increase from where we were last year. And the run statistics, 155 runs for the month, 988 year to date. And the breakouts as usual, we are 43 runs behind where we were at last year, 4.3% decrease. Just kind of working with the ebbs and flows, nothing of really any concern one way or the other on that. And then all the typical maps.
It'd almost be interesting to see that like on a 17 11 by 17.
Yeah.
Big one where
Yeah.
it's just not like a
Right.
big blob of color. Any other questions for the chief on statistics and updates?
I'd like to ask a question regarding the Narcan usage, if I may.
Go right on ahead.
Chief, it looks like it's holding steady to last year, since we're now at the halfway point of the year. And knock on wood, that'll be the case, or an improvement. Narcan was a much hotter topic a little while back, but obviously it's still something valuable for the community. I would never want to get into specifics about where Narcan was used or anything of that nature. But do you, or could you find for me how our Narcan usage on EMS runs compares to neighboring communities?
Yeah, I can attempt to do that. I believe the state has a resource of Narcan usage. I'll see if that can give us enough data. I can also have our EMS chief reach out and see if we can get some sort of general numbers from the other.
Even just raw
surrounding
numbers would be fine. I just want to see how we're comparing, to the east, to the north, that sort of thing, and just see where things are standing.
I just had a conversation with the EMS chief about this, just because the numbers have been kind of steady, right, which is a good thing. But I do want to double check, and we're kind of working on trying to find out with PD units carrying Narcan, if that usage is, if we're accounting for that as well. And I'm not so sure there's any certain checkbox in our EMS reporting. That's kind of more of a narrative thing where they put that in. And obviously we can't pull statistics from that portion of our reports. So I do want to look into that. So I'll get back and report back to you guys next meeting on kind of how that looks.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
Any other questions for the chief? Okay, seeing that we have no unfinished business, we'll move on to new business. Paragraph E, consider recommendations for transfer of appropriations, EMS fund $55,000 from other services and charges to capital outlays. Chief?
Okay, so I mentioned it a couple times this year that the EMS budget did not go through as presented and approved through Gateway. From what I'm hearing from the town accountants, it did not pull correctly from the forms in Gateway, so it left us with some kind of hodgepodge of numbers. What it did is it put $100,000 in EMS training. Obviously, that's a little high. It took that away from our other services and charges, our general line to where we pay our EMS billing and different services, things like that. It also pretty much, we got nothing in our capital outlays. So this is just part of it. This is the simple transfer of appropriations of moving it from Category 3 to Category 4. And then likely within the next couple of months, when the town does some additional appropriations as well, we will have an additional appropriation, a small amount, nothing large, for Group 4 to make our capital outlay line whole of what it was intended to be.
And just for the record, Chief, this money is there in the budget. It just needs to move from one.
Correct. One category to another, correct.
That's why it's a resolution and not an ordinance. An ordinance would require notice and things like that if we needed to do an additional.
With the remainder, because you said there was going to be some still left in line 3, even moving this, correct?
Correct, yeah, that makes 3 and whole of where it should be,
Okay.
of what it was intended to be and what it was approved, from what I presented to you all last year. The additional appropriation will make Category 4 or our capital outlays line whole when we do that.
Perfect, thank you, understood.
Any other questions for the chief? If not, I will make a motion to give a favorable recommendation to the council to approve the transfer of these funds.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any other questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And now for paragraph F, consider recommendation for prepaid approval, Verathon Incorporated Video, not to exceed $6,818. I'd give it a shot, Chief. I know I'd mess it up.
You're searching for laryngoscope. So this is a request to purchase video laryngoscopes. Obviously, the amount of this invoice you see is well within my purview as a department head to purchase. However, this company is requesting a prepay and working with legal to kind of behind the scenes here to let them know that we can only 50% prepay at a max, which I learned the other day. I just knew that prepay had to be approved, so I was educated. Thank you for that. But with that, we're still working on that, so I'd like to continue with the recommendation here to purchase these in case we get things worked out in time. If not, we'll have to go back to the drawing board and figure out how we can purchase this equipment. We've not dealt with this vendor before. It's switching to a new video laryngoscope, which is essentially kind of like a handheld camera to help intubate a patient. So they can actually visualize through the video screen, their landmarks of the vocal cords and such as they're intubating a patient. So that's what the equipment's for. That's what we would like to do to have new and improved devices like this. The ones we have are no longer supported, and they're kind of out of date. So essentially, that's why we're going after a new route. It's just proving a little more difficult than normal.
Mr. Vice Chairman, may I? The equipment's necessary and the money is well within your normal spending purview. It's just a matter of how we're paying the funds that we're really discussing. For legal, could the chief not use P-card, credit card to simply purchase under his total?
It does seem that that could work if you do have a credit card that would cover this charge.
I am not sure where the limits are at. I know it's within the policy. That can obviously be changed. Essentially, this route, well, I hope what we'd already started on. So we were hoping that was correct. Just want to go about this the right way, whatever it may be, to get this equipment.
Sure. I mean, at some point, as we discussed too, like if this goes in front of council and they just approve it, it's approved. So then you would think that they'd be able to send the goods based on that approval. But we'll get there.
Okay.
Is this just for one set, or is this for more than one? I'm trying to figure out.
It looks, I'm sure it's at least two.
Yeah, it's for two.
It shows two.
Yeah, two plus the additional charging cradles and things like that. So it'd be one for each ambulance that we have in service.
Oh, I see. And will they take 50% prepay? Or do we know that?
Sorry, I reached out to the company and asked them that question, and as of today, I've not heard back from them.
Okay.
That was my initial $4,000. We are a government entity,
Yeah.
so you would think that that would be okay, but I have not heard their response.
Okay.
Hopefully in another week, we'll have that response.
Any other questions for the chief? I'll entertain a motion.
We'll make a recommendation to council, right?
Yes.
not a motion to purchase.
Correct.
And I will make a motion to give a favorable recommendation to the council to approve this purchase not to exceed $6,818. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Point of order.
Yes.
Sorry, but based on what Chief is asking for on this specifically, I believe that the agenda is calling for authorization of the prepayment is really what we're getting into on this, not the actual purchase itself.
I will amend my
agree.
motion to say, give a favorable recommendation for the prepayment.
If
And
we
I'll
just,
second it.
if we just do the motion as a prepayment, does he have to come back next month to get the remainder?
No.
By statute, we're only allowed to authorize, if I'm not
50%.
mistaken, 50%.
Okay.
This company is wanting 100% prepayment.
Right.
We can't, as a government entity, authorize 100% prepayment, which is why I made the suggestion, if legal agrees with it, that he just pay for it by credit card, because then they get their payment, but we haven't paid the bill till the end of the month, right? And it would allow for him to get his equipment, and I think that's probably the easiest way to go, because I'm not sure yet that legally anybody can authorize 100% prepayment. Obviously, this company's going to get their money. It's not that much for us, but it's a matter more of the technicality of the prepayment. And I don't think anybody here, I'm guessing, has any issue with even, recommending the 50% prepayment. But until legal hears back from the company about whether they'll accept 50% or works with Chief to come up with the credit card payment, unfortunately, he's kind of between a rock and a hard place, statutorily speaking. Which isn't his fault or our fault.
So then he doesn't have to come back next month for the other,
He would
No, he
not.
can spend that out of his budget without us.
I didn't want to delay
Yeah,
getting
yeah.
this.
No, he can spend that out of his budget today if he wanted to, because
Okay,
he's allowed to
okay.
spend up to 10 grand without any sort of council authorization. Because he has the same spending limit that the department heads do of 10,000. It's the prepayment that brings him in front of us.
Right.
Okay,
We would have our equipment at that point, which would allow me by statute to pay the bill.
okay.
Does that track? Is that?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, got it.
Normally it's like an invoice. Normally it's invoice.
Yeah, normally it's an invoice. I do see they take payment by PO. I just love for him to pay it with credit card or get the company to take the 50% or whatever, personally, because then we can avoid all of this.
Did you get a second on your
Yes.
amendment?
I have a motion and a second. Any other questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And that brings us to the end of our agenda.
Didn't hear you.
No
'cause I
other
didn't
business.
Let the record show I did not say aye or nay. Being on council, I stayed out of that one, so consider me an abstain on that, and it carries 3-0.
That's fine.
Okay.
No other business. I will entertain a motion to adjourn. We have a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second? Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We stand adjourned.
I was gonna vote no, but at the same time, I'm not going on record. Because I'm